Right. Let's unpack this. Today, we're diving deep into some truly wild source material. Excerpts from a novella called Project WrestleWorld.
That's right. We've got the first few chapters here, and they paint this picture of, well, the future 2038 specifically. And it's a future where politics, daily life, even, legal disputes, it's all professional wrestling.
Seriously blurred lines, or maybe no lines at all.
Pretty much dissolved, yeah.
And our mission today is really to pull out the key insights, the most surprising facts from these chapters, just to understand how this reality even happened.
Right. How do we get here? The source material sets it up 2038. Democracy is looking pretty shaky. People are just tired, tired of the old system.
And then he shows up. Steel Justice, that's the name.
Steel Justice.
Yeah.
Yep. He walks into a presidential debate, and he's not wearing a suit. He's got a sleeveless denim vest, elbow pads, and a big championship belt that literally says truth on it. The source says everyone just thought, okay, joke candidate.
I can imagine. But that didn't last long, did it?
Not at all. The moderator gives him the floor, and instead of a speech, he cuts a promo, like in wrestling.
Right, the big dramatic speech.
Exactly. He just yells, the time for talking is over.
And then things get physical.
Oh, yeah. He flips the podium over, rips off his shirt, and because he has a chest tattoo of the U.S. Constitution, doing a powerbomb move.
Wait, the Constitution's doing a powerbomb?
That's bad, too, yeah. And then, like, a wrestling ring just descends from the ceiling. It's pure spectacle.
Wow.
And he keeps going, I've seen what you pencil-neck nerds did to this country. Elbow dropped the economy. But now it's time for the people's elbow of justice. Then he actually hits the stage with an elbow drop.
And the crowd, the viewers.
Pyro goes off, the live audience goes nuts, and the source says 13 million people watching at home literally stood up and clapped.
Unbelievable. So he wins.
Wins big. 47 states, just 2 weeks later. The media is stunned. It just shows how much people wanted. Something else, something dramatic.
And the inauguration I read wasn't exactly traditional either.
WrestleDome IV, not the Capitol steps. Kid Rock played the anthem.
Of course he did.
And President Justice makes his entrance, sliding down the ramp on a steel chair.
On a steel chair. Okay. This sets the tone.
Absolutely. First morning, Oval Office, the Resolute desk is gone, replaced by a folding table wrapped in barbed wire.
Barbed wire.
And his Secret Service agents, they're wearing referee stripes. Cabinet members apparently get their own entrance music when they walk in.
Like wrestlers walking to the ring.
Yeah.
So his first act as president.
An executive promo, naturally, declares an end to paper cuts and legal mumbo-jumbo. And then he signs his first law.
How?
With a pen shaped like a microphone. But he doesn't hold it. He puts it on the paper and signs it with his elbow, an elbow drop signature.
The Finisher Freedom Act, what did that actually do?
Okay, this is where it gets really core to the whole concept. The act allows every citizen one wrestling finisher move per week, anywhere, anytime, legally sanctioned. Yep. Chapters 1 and 2 show the immediate results. We see a guy powerbombing his landlord because of a rent dispute, and it's legal.
Landlord disputes settled by power bombs.
Okay. It wasn't just personal stuff either. The source mentions senators. They had a filibuster going on.
How do they settle it? Debate. Compromise.
Ladder match in the Senate chamber, using actual ladders to presumably grab some symbolic prize hanging above them.
The ladder match in the Senate.
And it goes down to everyday life, too. A Walgreens cashier uses a sunset flip, that quick pin move on a rude customer.
So physical conflict just became the norm for everything.
Pretty much the primary legal way to resolve disputes across the board. And guess who got rich?
Let me guess. Lawyers.
Circle lawyers. Specialists in figuring out the legal side of, say, a chokeslam versus a submission hold. Highest paid profession, the source says.
Makes sense in a weird way. What did Justice say about the legal system?
Someone asked if he destroyed it. His reply, I didn't destroy it, I put it through a flaming table.
Right, of course.
It just keeps escalating. There's this thing called divorce mania.
Oh, no!
Oh, yes. A primetime arena show. Couples settle divorces in a heart-shaped ring surrounded by broken furniture props.
What are the stakes?
Literally listed like a match card. Custody of the kids, the condo, even the cat named Diesel.
Wow, that's bleak.
And the promos they cut beforehand. You've got Carla, the ex-wife executioner, versus Darren, the disappointment. It's this bizarre mix of, like real human pain and total wrestling theatrics. Public performative divorce.
Okay, just when I think it can't get weirder. Chapter 2 introduces the vault.
Yeah. Executive order, #11. President Justice comes on TV holding this glowing briefcase, very money in the bank wrestling vibe.
Okay, so what does the briefcase do?
It's a lottery. Once a month, a random citizen wins the vault briefcase, and it gives them, well, unlimited cash-in rights.
Cash-in rights for what?
Anything. You can challenge anyone, anywhere, anytime, for their job, their house, a title, a promotion. The source even mentions challenging for a relationship.
A relationship? How does that work?
You win if you pin them, make them submit, or survive the match, depending on the challenge.
So the first winner, what did they do?
Vault winner.
Yeah.
#001. Sean the Interceptor Watts. He walks into a wedding.
No!
Yep, interrupts his ceremony and uses his vault contract to legally challenge the groom for the bride.
He challenged for the bride. What happened?
Chaos. Bell rings out of nowhere, steel chairs appear, Grandma's apparently throwing popcorn like she's at ringside. The wedding turns into a match.
This is madness. Does it show other examples?
Oh yeah, there's a whole montage described. A woman pins her boss through a vending machine to become CEO.
Okay.
A kid wins the state spelling bee by hitting a moonsault that's a backslip off the top rope, basically onto the current champ.
A moonsault to win a spelling bee.
And a guy wins a Waffle House franchise by choke slamming the owner. Onto the grill, apparently.
So the vault just injects total random chaos into everything. Anyone can challenge anyone for anything.
Exactly. It's like radical democratized disruption through combat. Status means nothing if someone has the briefcase.
How does Chapter 2 end?
It's a quieter moment, actually. President Justice is watching TV, sees a kid use the vault to win a PlayStation 5. His press secretary, Ms. Missile, mentions that, approval ratings are sky high, but national psychological stability, not so good.
I'm not surprised.
But Justice just smiles. Says something like, and yet, for the first time in decades, people are fighting for what matters again. Then he looks right into the camera.
Right.
Right at you.
It asks.
Tell me, America, what's worth cashing in your life for? Leaves you hanging with that.
Yeah.
What are the values here?
Heavy. Okay, so chapters 3 and 4. How does the rest of the world handle President Justice and WrestleWorld USA?
Right, the international angle. It starts at the UN observation room. World leaders are just watching, completely baffled, as President Justice hits a leg drop during a debate about corn subsidies.
A leg drop. During a UN debate, what's the reaction?
Total confusion, mostly. The French ambassador. Just pure disbelief. But interestingly, the German rep points out the U.S. GDP is way up, tourism is booming, 600% increase, and there's this weird new TikTok diplomacy happening.
TikTok diplomacy.
Apparently, yeah. Meanwhile, the Chinese delegate is just watching the senators get suplexed, probably taking notes.
Can traditional diplomacy even work anymore?
Nope. Canada tried sanctions. The source says their diplomat lost a ladder match over maple syrup import rights.
Lost a ladder match for maple syrup. Okay.
So the world's scrambling. Do they fight this or do they join in? Brazil suggests tagging in, using sports diplomacy to try and win resources like oil rights. Japan, they're already training diplomats by merging ninja dojos with New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Ninja wrestler diplomats. Makes sense. So the U.S. formalizes this.
Exactly. The Faction Diplomacy Act creates the official U.S. government wrestling team. The People's Diplomats.
A wrestling faction representing the U.S. government. Who's in it?
It's quite the lineup. Captain Trade leads them, former Wall Street guy. Finisher move is the tariff bomb, negotiates with chokeholds.
Negotiates with chokeholds, got it.
Then there's Lady Redact, the enforcer, CIA background, nobody knows what she looks like, speaks only in bleeps, her finisher. Yeah. The classified slam.
Oh, okay, mysterious. Who else?
Uncle Flex, he was some kind of disgraced ex-Olympian, now he's a crowd favorite.
Yeah.
With jorts and an eagle cape. Finisher's the freedom elbow. Total PR guy, basically.
Jorts and an eagle cape.
Axa is the tech specialist, submission expert. Uses the crypto clutch. She live streams everything, talks in code.
And there's an old-timer.
Chuck the Filibuster Harris. Legend. Hasn't passed a law or lost a match in 40 years, apparently. Uses a pile driver called the Page Turner. Only speaks in wrestling slang.
What a team. So they have international matchups.
Our first big one is Summit Slam. Democracy versus diplomacy. Team U.S. against Team EU and Switzerland. They're fighting over lithium trade routes.
How do you win a diplomatic wrestling match?
The rules are nuts. Multi-language commentary. You can win by making the other team submit or by reaching a declaration of mutual trust. So it's still sort of diplomacy. Maybe.
Sort of. And is there stuff happening behind the scenes? Backstage intrigue?
Oh, yeah. Russia's training its own rogue wrestlers. The UK unveils someone called the Union Jack Hammer. Kenya has the Nairobi Nightmare, and there are whispers of some faction that doesn't follow any rules.
Sounds dangerous. What's President Justice's take on all this chaos?
He loves it. He says, it's not working, it's wrestling. Working would be boring. For him, this is diplomacy now, just more entertaining.
But is it just chaos? Or is there more to it? Chapter 4 starts digging into that, right?
Exactly. The question becomes, is this madness or is it control? The Oval Office is now described as basically half office, half arena.
And Miss Missile, the press secretary, she notices things.
She reports that other countries seem to be figuring out how to game the system. Like Russia might be throwing matches, China sending in fake wrestlers to scout.
Trying to exploit the rules.
But Justice's reaction is unsettling. He basically says, good, let them think they're in control for now. And then the source reveals he has this top secret file, the Controlled Chaos Doctrine.
Controlled chaos? What's in it?
Plans. Storyboards for match outcomes, plan narratives, even strategies for when his own diplomats will be betrayed as part of the story.
So it's all scripted, the international relations.
It seems like it. The insight is huge. Chaos is engineered. Justice isn't just reacting, he's directing the whole show. Everyone thinks they have agency, but they're playing roles in his narrative. It's all kayfabe.
Kayfabe, the wrestling term for keeping up the illusion.
Exactly. Maintaining the story, the staged reality.
And do his own diplomats suspect anything?
They start to. Taxa finds weird data discrepancies. Uncle Flex starts feeling like he's just a pawn. Chuck notices armies of fake online fans pushing certain narratives. They're realizing the matches might be fixed, narratively speaking.
Meanwhile, there's still some old guard around.
Yet, Senator Bellamy still uses a typewriter, watches all this. He sees it not as madness, but as a deliberate dismantling of the old ways.
How so?
He points out the Supreme Court is gone, replaced by 3 masked wrestlers called the Judgment Day Tribunal. Congress settles debates with royal rumbles, everyone thrown into the ring at once. Lobbyists have to run iron lobby gauntlets.
So Bellamy sees the method in the madness.
Yeah, his conclusion is stark. This isn't madness, this is engineering, controlled chaos, theatrics masking systemic redesign. He gets that the performance, the kayfabe, is the tool being used to tear down the old structures.
But then something happens that shakes even this system.
Right. A random mid-level DMV worker wins a vault contract.
Okay. What does he cash in for? A promotion? A car?
He cashes it in to legally take ownership of the entire Department of Motor Vehicles.
He stole the DMV. How?
During a press briefing, he hit the director with a frog splash. That's a big flying leap. Pinned him clean. 1, 2, 3. And legally, the DMV was his.
That must have caused panic.
Big time. Especially among the old elites. If some random guy can win a whole government department with a wrestling move, then nothing they used to control is safe.
So they fight back.
They form a secret society, hidden under a fancy D.C. steakhouse, called the Beltway Club.
Who's in it?
Old money, old power, billionaire tech mogul, ex-military leader, an ousted senator, oil tycoon, the former establishment.
And what's their plan? They can't just wrestle justice, can they?
They form their own counterfaction, the Order of the Countout. A countout in wrestling is like a cheap way to end a match without a real winner. It fits.
So their goal is?
Restore traditional control through disruption of kayfabe. They want to break the illusion. By funding factions to find legal loopholes in the wrestling rules, training people to inflict real injuries in the staged fights, leaking damaging info about the diplomats, bribing referees, basically wrecking the performance.
They have a motto or something.
A pretty chilling quote the source gives. If we can't beat him in the ring, we kill the show. They want to expose it all as fake to get power back.
Yeah. Wow. So how do these first few chapters wrap up?
With President Justice alone, cutting another promo late at night, almost to himself, he reveals why he did all this. He says the old system let the real villains rob you blind in secret.
But now?
Now, he argues, the villains are visible. They're in the ring. Their downfall is public. It's watchable. His final line is powerful. Kayfabe didn't ruin democracy. It just made it watchable again.
So that was our deep dive into the first parts of Project WrestleWorld. A reality where, politics, life, law, it's all run like professional wrestling.
We saw how it started with a Finisher Freedom Act, how the Vault brought random chaos, how international relations turned into summit slams with factions like the People's Diplomats.
Right, and then the deeper layer, justice's possible controlled chaos versus the old guard, the order of the countout, trying to literally kill the show.
It's obviously fiction and totally over the top, but you can't help but see reflections, can you? The role of spectacle in our own politics, how narratives get controlled.
Absolutely. The tension between what looks real and the power structures underneath, it feels relevant.
It really does. It kind of forces you to think about how much of our reality is shaped by performance and narrative.
Which leaves us with a final thought, maybe pulling from the source. If making things watchable, controlling the kayfabe, is powerful enough to dismantle old systems, well, what does that say about where real influence comes from today?
And when that line between performance and reality gets so blurry, who's actually pulling the strings and who's just, playing their part in the show?
Definitely something to chew on.
For sure.
Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive.